So good morning to you all, or whatever time of day you're watching this, if you're watching on the replay, but we hope you're joining live with us. We're now on our second episode, or part 2 of Perspectives on Expanded Consciousness. And today with Bridget, my lovely guest, we're going to be talking about daily habits of conscious living. And we were, just before going live, we were talking about what is required really before we can manifest what we desire. And so I'm going to ask Bridget, first of all, what's not a tall order at all, just what is the first step to, manifesting what we really truly desire? And what it is that what is required, in terms of believing it's possible for us, particularly as women.
Right, how long you got? Okay, well, first of all, we've got to have fun.
Yes, exactly. That's important. Not to take it too seriously.
I think it's worth circling back just to a couple of points that we made at the end of last week's call, which will bridge the process of what we're talking to today.
Okay, yeah.
So a wish is not a burning desire. And when we want to live our life really by design and not by default, we have to spend time getting really clear on what we want, because everything is possible, but sometimes, and for the most time, it's going to take longer than we would like. So if the desire is really strong, it's irrevocable, irreversible, and deep, then we'll be in it for the long term. Now, sometimes it can happen faster, but as a general rule, it doesn't. So, I don't want to be there to sort of like put the dampers on things, but I think that the first thing is really is to get very clear that this is my life by design. This is, and a lot of people, and I spent a long time getting really, really clear on how I wanted to design the remainder of my life, or as good as possible, or at least the next 10 years. Okay. So it's really worthwhile. It's not selfish. It's worthy. You're worthy of it to live your life by design and by not default. Because what happens is that when we live by default, we get a little bit of what we want and a little bit of what we don't want. And then we kind of vacillate from one to the other. And, and we just feel that we're buffeted by the crosswinds of opinions and circumstances, right? So we're just like we're dragged every which way. So to be able to keep that centered focus on what we want to create, it has to be deeper than just something that we wouldn't mind it happening, or a wish. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to just talk about.
Yeah. Can I interject there? Because I think,
Yes.
actually the consistency of working on the fervor of your desires is important.
Of
so it's
course.
stoking the spark and making it into a roaring flame. And I think that's key, because it's not just the actual activities that we do to, try and manifest or create a life that we love, fulfilling our desires. It is about the desire first. And it's making sure that, we identify, we get clarity on what is that really a desire that we want or not, and
I think that,
exploring who we are,
and then fine-tuning it, isn't it? Continually fine-tuning it. And one of the things that you will hear again and again by the amazing, the incredible creators, whether that be technological artists, musicians, is that they have a really clear vision of what they want to create in a lot of detail, right? So we're going to sort of start generals, just like, oh yeah, I'd like to have a ton of money in the bank, a gorgeous lover in my bed, a great place to live, and a fabulous body, right? That's in general, right? I've said that before, but it's kind of just like, oh yeah, that'll probably be nice, right? But then it's about having the going through the process of becoming more and more specific, because the more specific we are, the more connected we are with that specific vision, the faster the manifestation. So the fine-tuning, stoking the fire, and all that kind of thing, every day, at least twice a day.
And that's true, the stoking that desire. You said connecting, and to me connecting is about connecting to it in your body in a feeling sort of way.
Yes.
The feeling is obviously the key ingredient, in terms of manifestation.
Go into that a little bit more now. So,
Yeah, I
so
know.
let's assume that everybody has spent the time they want getting at least a reasonably clear vision of what they want to create, health-wise, financially, and relationships. They're the kind of like the three big ones, right? And then it's going to have like little subcategories according to everyone else's views on things. So then on the other side is like, okay, well, I've got it here. How do I get, the pile of money in my bank account out of my desire, the lover in my bed, the great place to live, and the fabulous body, right? So the first thing really is how we're going to bridge our desires to manifestation, and that is the path of belief. And we hear it so many times, you've got to believe, you've got to believe, you've got to believe. And people are like, okay, well, how do I believe? How do I believe? What do I need to do? And that's really where the disciplines and commitment comes in to staying true to your course. And you said it just before we joined us, didn't we? So many people, they seem to have had overnight success, but actually
there's a whole backlog of, failures or twists and turns in their life to where they've got now, and I see that more and more people are actually exposed, telling people it's not as simple as it may seem. Social media makes it look so easy. We can get riches like this, and believe you me, I've tried some of these things and tried some of the blueprints, and they just don't work that way because your belief is not quite there yet, and you have to travel that route, that ladder of belief, scale it gradually. You have to start, but you have to be consistent. As Bridget would say, it's about consistency to you, commitment to you, and that's what we find is sometimes lacking. And the reasons why, I don't maybe I've jumped to the next thing, Bridget, but you correct me if I'm
I'm interested to hear what you're saying.
Because we talked about this just before going live as well, is that how many of us are consistent and true to ourselves, and how do we actually value ourselves enough to put ourselves first? And what gets in the way of that, the beliefs that we hold in terms of our responsibilities to others, and following the expectations of others rather than, seeing that our desires are more important, because by following those, we become the more expanded version of ourselves. So I'll let you take over there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is that. And I think that the consistency comes when the desire is strong enough. And I've looked at many, many ways how to fuel my desire. And I think one of the things is we often talk about it, what do you want people to say at your funeral, right? Or written on your gravestone or your obituary, eulogy or whatever. And I just really want to say, I gave it my all. I gave it my all. No regrets. We live in a country where we're free. We're allowed to make, as women, our own choices. We're not restricted in anything that we want to undertake. There's help everywhere. And that alone gives us more liberty and choice than maybe 80% of the rest of the population. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's just like we're in a country where we can create anything we want, right? So that's a good starting point. It's just like, yay, when you think of the women that fought for voting, fought to have their own bank accounts, fought to not to be able to go out unaccompanied by a male. These things we take for granted today, but sometimes I take stock and I'm like, wow, there's still women in other parts of the world who don't even have those basic freedoms. Right. So we have these basic freedoms. And so I think really that's what I did. I got very clear. I said, look, I chose to come into this part of the planet in this particular life experience. I in a way, I want to, I want to honor that. That's my rent to the planet. I've been put in a really great place, and I think that's really sort of so to really start there and get clear about what you want. Now, whether we believe it or not, they say we're going through hundreds of life cycles, and some people aren't kind of quite there yet, and they're quite happy to just not have any goals and go through life kind of drifting, and that's the end of that. Everybody's on their own path, and nobody judges anybody else. But for me, it was about I have this potential, I have health, I have intelligence, I have a great mind. You know, I've got to use these gifts, use my gifts. And so that was where I first started. I was like, okay, so here I have a desire. I know I have these gifts. It's not here yet. So how do I get there? And because I've been 12 years in the network marketing industry, of course, there's so much growth and personal development. And one of the first books I was introduced to was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I started to understand that when I do train somebody as a coaching session, we always start with a definite main purpose statement. As basic as that is, for me, it's the cornerstone. Because when you do, Jim Rohn says it brilliantly, you know, the things that are easy to do are also the things that are easy not to do. But the definite main purpose statement is easy to do. You know, it's 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night, self-confidence formula, read it twice a day. We normally do it on a year timeline. Normally the first time around, it takes about 2 years. But we know, like you said, most people will not even do it for a week.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting. We fall off. Slide off.
I mean, it's no different. Like, you know, when people join a gym in January, right? And then by the beginning of February, they don't, you know, they don't go anymore. That's it. They're not finishers. That's it. I'm just a good finisher. I'm just a good finisher, you know, and that's probably my greatest strength is I'm, you know, my ex used to say, you're stubborn as a mule. I was like, I am, you know. Yeah.
For me, it's about that tenacity. And I actually, people are astounded when I say, you know, because I was thrust out of the Holiday Inn, Cardiff North, my therapy practice, literally almost overnight. But I pursued it because I thought it's my right to have some sort of compensation. It wasn't about the money at all. It was just the right of it, you know, and, you know, I pursued it. Most people would have given up long ago. The circuitous route I had to go and the different things I've tried to get there. But eventually I did succeed, you know, and I had a payout. And it was just, as I said, it wasn't the money. It was just being acknowledged, you know, and that was in May this year. So that's how long, from September to May. So, but the thing is, it is about, and I'm still here. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm still strengthening my belief because I do my daily habits. And I persevere. And I think it's all about that perseverance to yourself, knowing that you are the most important person on this planet to you, you know, and we forget that because we always don't practice what we preach. We sort of think we have to be there for other people. But, you know, the priority starts with you. Would you say that, Bridget?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been, so, you know, we did say we were going to talk a little bit about the daily habits. So as I said, I started off my personal development journey. Actually, it was, you know, I had read a couple of books before, but, you know, learning about the definite main purpose statement was certainly, you know, one of the keystones, if not the keystone to the next level of development. You know, it's a basic. And actually, if you read the story behind the book, what Napoleon Hill was trying to share is that everything is vibration, but it was too kind of leading edge to share that in the book at the time because he wrote it in the 1930s and people weren't quite ready for that message. But underneath what he was trying to say when he talks about belief, when he talks about autosuggestion, when he talks about persistent, you know, when he talks about burning desire, all that is leading to that feeling that you just mentioned. It's about the feeling of, as Neville Goddard says, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, right? So my daily habits, not difficult. I've been doing the miracle morning now every single day, probably bar about 10 days in total for the last 10 years. Sometimes I do it longer and shorter, but as a general rule, I will never turn my phone on before probably 3 hours into my day. So I get up early, depending on the day, but normally certainly between 5 and 6 a.m. And every single moment of my day is pretty well planned out. And I have a mantra. If it's on my to-do list, I do it today.
So not to overcommit yourself then on your day.
I make a list that I know I can do. Yeah. And if I don't do it, I will say, well, what were you doing instead? All right. So I won't put on a whole list that I go into overwhelm, because no, that's not the point. It's what I know I'm capable of if I am focused and I am disciplined.
So what works for you, Bridget, in terms of those days, apart from saying your, definite?
Well, my definite, I start the day. It's not difficult. As a miracle morning, always make the bed, always drink all hot water, and brush my teeth, and then I'll go straight into my meditation. Get centered in substance, centered in source, centered in the universe, centered in God. Call it what you want. I get centered. And this is where this expanded consciousness comes from, because you suddenly realize that you are just an extension of source. And that meditation period, 15 minutes, gets me centered into my conscious awareness of being centered in source. Then I will do 15 to 20 minutes, kind of quite challenging, like yoga, warrior poses and all that kind of thing. It's timed. I use yoga not to get, a thinner, fitter, healthier, more musty body, but that's a good byproduct as well. But it's to increase my powers of focus.
Do you know, I would actually second that, because I've been doing, well, not so much yoga, but the breathing practices that I do every day now. It's really helped with my focus and productivity. So it's like, but it's so easy. I notice, I observe, and that's all part of meditation as well. It's like observing when my mind starts wandering and bringing it back on track, and back on the breathing. And I suddenly think, oh, I've lost count again, because I do a special sky rhythmic breathing exercise every day now. And it's quite a long sequence, but you've got to keep on score and track. And that is part of the exercise. Not some, obviously the breathing is doing such wonderful good in you, but it's but it is the focus and the concentration.
Absolutely. I've just started to take up doing some dance classes. I mean, when I say dance, it's not, I'm not going out for Strictly or anything, but basically what it is, the reason I did it was because I knew that it would help my mental agility, because learning how to do steps is completely different from going in the gym or whatever it might be. And I knew that I wanted to increase my focus in terms of mental agility. And for me, dancing was the way to do it. Another one is I play the guitar, and I've been playing for years, but, not very well. I'm going to start learning the instrument, not just because of the joy of music. That's not that. But again, it's for the mental agility, to keep sharp and to keep focused on then the stuff that requires focus in other areas. So it's all a whole. But certainly, and certainly that is absolutely key. The yogas, and when I'm doing the flow, I'll have a routine, and I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and I know, and then you're still counting, and then of course thoughts are so fast, they still come in, right? And I know if I'm getting a wobble, I've lost focus, right? And my warrior is going a little bit oh, I need to do this. Focus.
Yeah, your to-do list pops back in, it's like, doesn't it? It's not what you did yesterday.
I do get inspirational thoughts as well that come in while I'm in that state of present focus, powerful presence, and I find it very, 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 very useful. And often I've had just like, oh, actually tweak, fine tune. And then the latter part is not difficult. I'll sit down and I will read and journal for 45 minutes to an hour every morning. Then I'm done. And I do have an evening routine as well.
Okay.
And before I eat every meal, I will sit down, I'll prepare whatever I'm eating, and I will take 30 seconds to a minute to express thanks and get centered and just poised during the day, because the day can get very busy and very intense. And just taking those few seconds before each meal, I found it's a really good segue to get recentered again. And in the evening, I'll write down what I did well today, what I'm really, proud of myself. I will write down, I will track my numbers, because I'm a businesswoman. So I track, I look at my goal numbers and I track where I am and see, and so one is matching up with the other. I'll write down how my training went, because I do my yoga every day, and then I go to the gym every day as well, pretty much. maybe 5 times a week, but I don't do a lot. You know, I'll do, like yesterday, I did like 20 minutes spinning, and the day before I think it was the same, and a bit of leg work or something. But you know, I go every day. Then what else do I do in the evening? I'll just write down a few thoughts, you know, about where I am, how I'm feeling, that kind of thing. And then I will close my eyes and I will visualize at my desk. It can be as little as a minute, and it can be as long as 15. And then last but not least, I'll get into bed, and as I sleep, I'll say, as I sleep, my body's refreshed, renewed, restored, revitalized, energized. I'm going to wake in the morning, and my first thought will be, is today is going to be a great day. So I program my mind before I sleep, and then literally I'll stop talking, and then I'll just sink into, as much as I can, you know, the awareness of the oneness and consciousness. Yeah. So pretty much do that every day. Yeah. Brilliant. Doesn't take long. It doesn't take long.
I gotta say, I don't spend that long on journaling, and journaling is not something I do every day, but when I'm in the moment and I feel the flow. But I know it's a way of getting into flow too, so you can actually analyze your way of, you know, what's hindering you, what thoughts are you processing at the moment that not really serving you.
Honestly, Esther, it's because I love writing. Yeah, it's really my joy. I love to write. I love to express myself. I love beautiful combinations of words and languages. You know, that writing is really a huge pleasure for me. So that's
I think I actually do it in my social media, the way I express myself. That's where I do it. See, I don't necessarily do it in a journal book, but I certainly do it online. And that's why a lot of my posts are long form posts, because it's a way of expressing what I'm processing at the moment, or you know, think I may be of help to others and inspire others. So that's the way I do it.
Definitely, we can use social media to add value, which is something certainly that you do. And when I do post, my intention is always to add value. Whether it's something I'll post, some, you know, I did I'm grateful for this person post the other day, and you know, people are really, you know, it's a positive thing for people to read, you know, and just, you know, with social media, for me, it's about showing love, appreciation, fun, creativity, and also opening up people's minds to what could be possible for them. Because sometimes they're so sucked into the day-to-day, they don't even take the time to think, actually, something else could be possible. You know, maybe something else is possible. Maybe I do want to, and we don't have to start by going all in. It could just be like the tiniest tweak. You know, in the Miracle Morning, again, he says you can do it for 1 minute on each of the disciplines. 6 minutes. Everyone do 6 minutes a day, right? 1 minute, 1 minute meditation, 1 minute affirmation, 1 minute visualization, 1 minute of exercise, 1 minute of reading, and 1 minute of writing. Everybody can do those 6 minutes, right? I mean, he recommends 10 minutes of each, but, you know, 6 minutes is fine.
We've got a comment here. So from a Jeffrey Amhoed. Sorry, I don't know if I pronounced that right. But in your exercise of expanding your consciousness, do you extend your consciousness to mental words within you or beyond you? So presumably, do you mean out loud or?
What, in terms of like affirmations, stuff like that?
Self-dialogue, yeah.
Yes.
I say out loud a lot, to be honest, not just mentally in my mind. So what I've done lately, because for me, sometimes the money is still a bit of an issue. So lately I've been talking about money sticks to me like Velcro. You know, and I am unlimited because I'm connected to unlimited source. Therefore, money is unlimited and it's available to me 24/7 all the time. I just tune in. I am vibrating in abundance. And I say that to myself. It's like just affirming it. It's like, it's an affirmation, really. And do you know what? I had coupons the next day. I had 2 new clients the following day, and then they're booking back again. And it's like, you can believe it or not, you know. And I think part of it, if you want to believe it, it can happen, you know.
Yeah. So I think what's interesting is a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. right? If you just keep thinking the same thought, the
recurring thoughts,
the recurring thoughts will eventually go to the subconscious, and you start believing it, whether they're good or bad ones. I will always use one litmus test when it comes to an affirmation, whether it be in my mind or whether it be out loud, because I do both. How does it make me feel? How does this affirmation make me feel? And sometimes I mean, I know probably hundreds of affirmations by heart, right? I mean, I'm really good at learning scripts by heart. I mean, long ones, right? So like, I know passages of books by heart.
Yes.
So again, I use it as part of like to keep my mind really sharp. But I always say, how's this making me feel? And if I know I'm out of whack, and I can feel that, you know, I'm not in that positive aligned flowing motion,
you have to desist. Yeah.
I will say, what is the next best feeling thought I can find right now in this moment?
Yeah.
And something will come up. It can be as simple as, you're doing really well. It can be as simple as, this too shall pass. It can be something more specific. I establish myself in the abundance of God, and I establish myself in it. I establish myself in the substance of God, and I have abundance. It can be, my income is always expanding. I prosper wherever I turn. Today, I wrote down a quote from The Game of Life and How to Play It, which was, every man is a link in the chain of my good. Because I met somebody yesterday who, it was an amazing conversation, long story short, and as I was writing down what happened that was positive last night, I wrote, every man is a link in a chain of my good. It's in the prosperity chapter on The Game of Life and How to Play It, right? So the next best feeling thought of how I can continually raise my vibration or improve my feeling, right? And because ultimately we feel good or we don't feel good. Pretty much, you know, you can give them lots of subcategories like fear and guilt and jealousy and freedom and joy and happiness and serenity, whatever it might be, but it's good and bad, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And there's ones in the middle that it's a bit like, meh, right? So neutral, right? But ultimately, we kind of know when we're feeling good or when we're feeling bad. So for me, it's always about moment by moment self-awareness of how I am feeling and how I can get to a higher level of feeling, because the basis of life is freedom and the purpose of life is joy. And I know that I can always feel more joy. I definitely know I can feel more joy. You know, and that is ultimately how we want to live, where we have that juice and that passion and that joy. Literally, we can have that all the time when we let go of enough resistance, right?
Yeah.
So that's, for me, works really, really well. What's the best feeling thought I can feel right now? Yeah.
So for me, my daily practice, I mean, I mentioned the breathing techniques that I do. Meditation has been a prime source of or way, a conduit to accessing source energy and really filling myself up with that source energy. And affirmations definitely are on that list. I do visualisations. I tend to do them more in the evening as well. And what I also do is I ask a question often before I go to bed, and with the idea, you actually ask the subconscious mind a question. It's like, how can I create more impact in the world? Or you might make it more specific than that, and then you sleep on it, and then often you wake up with an out of the blue answer.
You do. That's so good. I do. I want to create this, that, and the other. In the morning, I'll know just what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's happened for my colleague as well. So Mel, who's a part of Thriving Communities, she says, how can we connect with more people in the community? And she left that question hanging before she went to sleep. And in the morning, and it's not an answer that would come to her naturally, you know, through her own conscious thinking. Yeah. It literally came through and said, through the police force, and it's like, through the police, so because they've got connections in the community. So it
really is, because when we sleep, of course, we stop our conscious thinking, and of course it opens up the higher levels of intelligence that we would never tap into when we're going about our day. And so sleep holds literally all the answers, right? I mean, it really, really does. And we're so busy with the doing and the doing and the doing, we forget that actually all the answers we need to know are in our subconscious, and we release those, bring them to those answers to our conscious level when we sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, Neville Goddard, again, he does a whole chapter on sleep, I think, in one of his books, Feeding is the Secret, if my memory. So, the whole thing is supposed to just go to sleep, you'll be fine.
So I've got one more question about you connecting to your subconscious through dreams, visions, and trances to increase your awareness. Do you engage in such exercise to increase your consciousness and awareness? So awareness is so...
no.
Well, no, not really. It's just... it's... The subconscious is very, very fertile. But obviously you have to, from the conscious, you have to feed the subconscious. So the right... ingredients to ensure that stays fertile, and so it's sort of planting the right seeds there so that they can take root. So that's what all these practices are all about, these conscious practices. I think
we can try and complicate it as much as we want. I do what I do because I love doing those practices. I never go into them thinking, oh, I've got to do my practices. That defeats the entire...
Well, that exactly, it negates the whole process, isn't it? You've got to feel the joy of it, and the thrill of it, I would say,
Getting really excited is like, it's visualization time, and that is why I do it. I mean, but you will, if you listen to people who you perhaps would like to emulate their success, you will find pretty much all of them have a morning and evening routine. I learned a lot about that in The Compound Effect with Darren Hardy.
That's a brilliant book. Yeah,
amazing book.
Yeah.
He's one of these kind of like big sort of alpha males, isn't he? But I absolutely love the book, and he calls it bookending. He said you can't control what happens in the day, but you can control what happens first thing in the morning and last thing at night. And that's something that really stuck with me, and I was like, you're right, you can. And then over the course of time, the adjustments have been made here and there I try and really check in with myself at least twice a day. How are you doing? For getting sucked into the tornado of all these people wanting things from you and having a to-do list and all the rest of it. So
it's making sure that you don't go too much in the mechanical of it, because that's not the liberated way of manifesting your desires. Because, and I mean liberated as in it's not hard work, it comes with flow and it comes with ease.
Absolutely. So there's pointers of how we bridge our desires to manifestation. Just practice.
And you've got to find your own signature version. I think, you've got to test and try out these things. It's like trying on some shoes, whether they fit, whether the colour's right, or whether the design's right, whether it's, meets all those criteria that you set for yourself. But I think you need to understand what works for you. And it's all about the vibration. It's all about how it feels. And they say we connect back to how does it make you feel more uplifted? Does it make you feel more joyous? And that's what it's all about, I think. And you make sure you guard against
intuition. Sometimes I've got this gut feeling about this, that, and the other, and just didn't feel right. And I knew it wasn't going to work because it didn't feel right. I knew it was going to work because it just felt so amazing. I mean, we have this sixth sense, don't we? That if we can learn how to use it, to really connect with it. This is what I'm trying to do all the time, is really just connect more deeply and deeply with my sense of intuition, my sixth sense, and be able to use that. That's what we're here for, isn't it? Right?
Totally.
So,
I think that's what meditation helps with. And for me, another one I forgot to mention is that I get most of my some people get the creativity, the downloads in the shower. I get it out walking in nature. So I always try and make it my absolute priority to get out there at least once a day and do a walk. And another practice I do is gratitude, because especially if my day hasn't gone so well, and I'll just refocus and I just say, what have I been grateful for today? Who am I being? Am I grateful for who I am right now, and that I'm still trying? I'm working towards my expanded version of myself. Because I know it's there. It's just that I've got to release all these negative layers of
What are we
disbelief.
like? Honestly,
I
I know. I was just like, I think I wrote this morning, it's just like, how, for the love of Pete, can I let go of this damn resistance and let it all in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but then I
Yeah.
actually started rereading Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth this morning. I've read that book several times and I absolutely love it. And a lot, and I think it's just very, very practical, good sense book. And so I was just like, I probably need to go back and read Spiritual Economics again. And then I pulled out a few and I was just, oh, that's why I needed to read it again.
Yeah. And I think, I get messages through words and through music. So from source, whatever, spirit. My colleague gets it through numbers. People get it through spirit animals or whatever. I mean, I just totally, for me, it's words, especially through the medium of music. And it's been so many, synchronicities there. I won't quote them now, but that's, for me, that's, as you say, because I'm a word person too. I love the power of words. So maybe that's why affirmations do work.
Yes, absolutely.
For me. But as I said, you've got to fine tune it to suit you.
You do. Everybody has to find their, the book they love. The person they can buddy up with to talk about things like you and me, Esther.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another key thing, is staying in the vibration of people that and the same level or higher level of expanded awareness, and I think that's important, and on that higher vibration.
Very.
It's difficult sometimes for me, because I do a lot of community work and I see how negative people are, and it's like pulling back when I know that I'm overexposed a little bit. Like I can't be sinking down. I want to be that role model so they can rise up to meet me, but you got at the same time guard, protect your energy, as it were.
Absolutely. All right,
amazing. Again, it's all choice, isn't it? We choose how we want to live our lives. We choose the people we want to engage with, and and we choose the choices on our desires and how we want to realize those.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that once we realize that we have a choice, it then becomes a responsibility. Yeah. I have the responsibility to make the choices I want for myself, but I saw fully understanding that I could take full responsibility for everything as liberating rather than a burden.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Yeah, I am absolutely 100% responsible for me, and I'm not responsible for anyone else at all. Anyone else at all.
And I think we'll leave that for another day. I think that's a good subject to cover, isn't it, in more detail?
It is, yes. Definitely. Relationships. How responsible are we for our children, for example?
I know.
Whole other topic.
It is, yes, definitely. Oh, well, thank you very much, Bridget. It's been a pleasure, as always, chatting with you here online, and I hope some of you got something out of this. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments, or you can inbox either myself or Bridget. We're happy to answer and point you in the right direction. For me, I know, Bridget, we're always learning. We're always picking up a book or two, that something that can guide and give us a little nudge, or suddenly, oh yes, wow, and then we feel connected to it. But yeah. And don't forget, don't beat yourself up. We're always learning. We're always trying to get better, be the best version of ourselves, and that's important that you focus on that.
We're always doing the best we can with what we know how.
Okay, yeah. All right. Thank you very much, all.
All right, thank you.
And see you again this time next week. Okay, for our next
I'll be here.
installment.
All right.
Watch out for it.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.